So, Season 3 of Yellowjackets just wrapped up. This is a show that people have been telling me to watch a lot recently. If you're new to the channel, I specialize in talking about TV shows with lots of mystery, intrigue, and unanswered questions. As I heard more and more about Yellowjackets, I thought, this all feels pretty familiar. It all starts with a plane crash. What is it with mystery box shows and plane crashes? There's a lot of jumping around in time, hints of the supernatural, an ensemble cast with their own individual secrets, all built around the central plot question of what really happened to these girls out in the woods. Oh yeah, this is right up my alley. I'll watch it, get caught up before Season 3, and make a typical prediction video for Season 4. Then I actually watched the show, and it turned out to be pretty different from what I expected. Sure, there are mysteries, but the story isn't as mystery heavy as I was led to believe. There are things for the fans to theorize about, gaps in the plot that need solving. But I've been at this for a long time. I know how to watch for certain signs. And the more I watch, the more sure I am that the big questions of the show, namely, what is this force out in the wilderness, will never get an explanation. Here's how I know. Yellowjackets is way more than just a series of mysteries. It's more about psychological horror and trauma than it is about what really happened. But let me go over the major mysteries and what we know so far. If you haven't seen the show, it's about a group of teenage girls who are in a plane crash and have to survive out in the wilderness. The show is split between the girls in the woods in the past and the adults in the present after they got rescued. The ones who survived anyway, as they deal with the trauma and fallout of what happened. The adults make vague references to horrible, horrible things they went through and had to do. So the initial question is, what happened? How did they get rescued? For all the girls we don't see as adults, how did they die? Did they die? Or are some of them still alive somewhere? And what did they do out in the woods? Probably cannibalism. Actually, definitely cannibalism. But maybe something worse. The adult section has at least one major whodunit in every season. It can be very mystery-focused at times, especially with Misty and her whole citizen detective thing. There's a lot of investigating and finding clues happening. In Season 1, it was who killed Travis, and who's sending these blackmail letters to everyone. In Season 2, what's Lottie and her cult up to? Season 3 had a ton. The main whodunit was who killed Lottie. But there's also a bunch of little questions that may or may not be connected. Who left Shauna that phone in the bathroom, locked her in the freezer, and cut her brakes? Who sent her that tape of what they did out there? But none of that is the main source of intrigue. That comes mostly from the maybe supernatural elements. At the beginning of the show, the girls find a cabin with a dead guy and this symbol carved everywhere. What is it with mystery box shows and weird symbols? This gets expanded a lot as the show goes on, mostly through Lottie, who seems to be able to commune with some unseen godlike entity that inhabits the wilderness. It doesn't really have a name, they mostly just call it it.
It helped us survive then. It will help us survive now if we give it what it wants.
All across the show, characters have wacky, creepy visions that hint at a larger supernatural force at play. And the girls do increasingly disturbing things because they think it's what it wants. But what is it really? Then just a few miscellaneous mysteries to mention. Taissa has a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on, where she changes into a more savage version of herself, who follows the instruction of the man with no eyes. Javi disappears for a while, and it turns out he was hiding out in this hot spring type cave thing. And he says he had a friend helping him. And Misty's friend Crystal fell off a cliff and died, only for her body to disappear with no explanation. And that's mostly everything. I know that in my videos, I can make it seem like a show is all about the mysteries and nothing else, and ignore all the other stuff that happens. But I hope the fact that this summary was so short proves how much other cool stuff is going on in this show. The show was marketed on its mysteries, and that's what spreads the show through word of mouth. But Yellowjackets has other things on his mind besides building intrigue. It's not like Lost or From, where the mysteries are basically the whole point. Any big questions are there to serve a larger theme. But why do I think that the mysteries we do have won't get answered? Well, I can't help but notice some red flags when it comes to the mystery plots. Maybe that's not the right term, But the way these mysterious aspects are framed makes me question how much the writers actually want to answer them.
Well, I think we should get together and strategize, you know? Pop a few pins on the old corkboard.
The biggest question, I think, is what is it? What does the wilderness want? What are the motivations, mechanics, and abilities of this supernatural force, if it even exists? This is the one question that's omnipresent. Supernatural events and visions happen in almost every episode. But let's do a quick experiment. Let's pause for a second. I want you, right now, to think back over the entire show. And I want you to think of 3 specific visions that a character had. Do you have them? Okay, first question. Was that hard to do? Maybe you couldn't even come up with 3. Isn't that weird, considering somebody hallucinates at least once per episode on average? The reason why comes with my second question. Did those visions you thought of actually affect the plot in any way? Because, for the most part, they don't. The 3 I had in mind were Taissa and the Man with No Eyes, Coach Scott seeing his boyfriend, and Aquila in the cave with Coach Scott as the bridge. All of those came up more than once, and had the character who saw them make an important decision after seeing them. But beyond those, I struggle to remember any other specific visions because most of them are not important and never come up again. If it was a big mystery that we and the characters were supposed to solve, each vision would be a clue. The show would hand us puzzle pieces one at a time, and communicate to us that we should be keeping track of them. They'd be mentioned multiple times each, and the characters would note them as important.
You want to try?
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Instead, every vision just comes and goes. Their primary purpose seems to be to create a creepy atmosphere and give some insight into what a character is thinking or feeling at the time, not further a mystery. We've had 3 whole seasons of the girls being under the influence of it in both timelines. And what have we learned about it? Nothing. 0 actual information. Again, if this were a mystery meant for us to solve, we'd be inching towards the truth, bit by bit. But we're not. We're not even allowed to be sure if any of this is even real. The show and the characters constantly throw doubt on whether there even is anything supernatural at play, if they're all just imagining it.
You know there's no it, right? It was just us!
Anything they think they saw or felt can be explained by stress, or trauma, or drugs, or cave gas. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's something going on. Something made snow fall on Jackie's cremating corpse to make it perfectly cooked. Something made Lottie speak French. And the girls were having visions before the plane even crashed. Man, what is it with mystery box shows and having somebody stand far away and stare at you, and then when you blink, they're gone? But I'm not positive it's all real. And the fact that the show won't even let me have that is telling. Yellowjackets has all the hallmarks of what I like to call a non-diegetic mystery box show. That's getting really inside baseball in terms of my channel and the labels I use, so let me do some defining. I have a whole 30-minute video explaining what a mystery box show is, but the short version is that it's a show built around a series of connected mysteries, where the main reason you watch is to find out more about what's happening and see how the pieces fit together. Diegetic means within the story world. When something is diegetic, it's really there, and the characters can see it and interact with it. So non-diegetic means it exists outside of the narrative universe. Sometimes in a visual medium, there will be a sequence that's meant to illustrate a thematic point or the thoughts and feelings of a character and isn't actually happening. Like in a musical, characters aren't breaking into song in-universe. They can't hear the music. The songs are for our benefit. And Louisa here isn't actually in a gladiator arena. It's just a visual metaphor to show us her state of mind. Putting those 2 things together, a non-diegetic mystery box show is a TV show with mysterious things in it that were never supposed to have in-universe explanations. It presents things in a mysterious way and gets fans to theorize about what's happening. However, a lot of what the fans think are mysteries aren't actually mysteries. They're just cool, fun sequences that are meant to be read metaphorically and thematically, but aren't real and aren't supposed to be taken literally. The most famous or infamous example is Twin Peaks, but others I've talked about are Mr. Robot, Donnie Darko, and The Prisoner. This kind of thing happens because of a mismatch of expectations. The audience thinks everything they're seeing is a puzzle to be solved, but you're really supposed to just vibe with it and understand the emotional truth. I think that's the function of it in Yellowjackets. I don't think we'll ever learn what it really is. Its purpose in the show is to create a general sense of mystique and be a scapegoat for all the messed up things the girls do. I mean, it's pretty much just the Beast from Lord of the Flies. Yellowjackets' elevator pitch is basically Lord of the Flies but with girls. And I know that's kind of cliche. Anytime there's kids in a survival situation, people jump to go, just like Lord of the Flies. But in this case, the comparison is justified, and Lord of the Flies is easily Yellowjackets' biggest influence. The Beast in Lord of the Flies is both real and not real. It starts off as a dead paratrooper with a parachute who falls on the island that the boys mistake for a beast. But then Simon has a hallucination where the Beast talks to him and tells him that the real Beast is inside each and every one of them. It's never made clear what exactly the Beast is in universe, whether it's real or imagined or somewhere in between. But that's not important. What matters is how it helps the readers understand the darkness inside the souls of all the boys. Sound familiar? So, no. I don't think it will ever be meaningfully explained, and neither will anything associated with it. We won't find out what it really is or what it wants. We won't be told whether anything supernatural is real or imagined. We won't know if Lottie is really communing with something or if she's just out of her mind. We won't find out what the symbol means or where it came from. I anticipate a decent chunk of the audience feeling betrayed when the show ends without these answers, myself included to some extent. But these questions are not what the show is about. It's about the girls and the darkness within them. But wait, I hear some of you thinking, the show doesn't give any answers? But then what about some of the smaller plot lines? Those whodunits in the adult timeline that you mentioned before? All of those got resolutions and answers. And that's the other interesting angle to all this.
Well, I needed answers. So, Shauna?
Yes, every time there's a whodunit mystery with the adults, it gets an answer. Because unlike the supernatural elements, these are treated like real mysteries, with clues and characters doing detective work so that we, the audience, are encouraged to solve it along with them. But also, have you noticed the kinds of answers we always get? Every time, the big reveal is satisfying, but also aggressively simple and mundane. Who killed Travis? Turns out he really did commit, self-bye-bye, despite Natalie being so sure it wasn't. Who was the blackmailer? Not Adam, the cool, mysterious stranger, but Jeff, Shauna's own husband who needed some extra cash. What's Lottie and her cult up to? Absolutely nothing. Even though she was in touch with Travis and was there when he died, she wasn't involved at all, and she's just trying to live her best life with her people. No ulterior motive. Season 3 takes this even further. Shauna assumes that all the mysterious things happening around her were related to each other, but they weren't. Melissa sent her the tape, but it wasn't a threat. It was supposed to be a peace offering. Misty locked her in the freezer because she was annoyed at her. The phone and her brakes? As far as we can tell, the brakes gave out on their own, and the phone was some stranger who really did just leave it in the bathroom by accident. And Callie killed Lottie by accident. Also, in the season 3 finale, we finally found out who Pit Girl was. The cold open to the pilot showed a girl die by falling in a pit and get eaten. And since we never saw her face, fans have been wondering for years who it was. And it was Mari. I mean, I guess. It's nice that we got an answer, but the answer was kind of annoyingly straightforward and didn't end up mattering that much. You could see it coming before it happened, and as Mari was taking her shoes off, I kept thinking, there's gotta be more to this, right? But there wasn't. The hype was all in our heads. With these plotlines, the show is subverting expectations. And I don't mean that in a Game of Thrones Season 8 or the Star Wars sequels kind of way, where the writers resolve something in a random, stupid way solely to keep people from guessing what'll happen. I mean it in a Game of Thrones Season 1 and Glass Onion kind of way, where it lets the audience make a bad assumption based on what usually happens in a story like this, so that we miss all the clues that point to the obvious answer. Like, one of my favorite details in Season 1 is that Shauna never got a blackmail letter.
What? Blackmail?
But you didn't get one of these?
What? No.
That was the first big clue that Jeff was the culprit. He wouldn't try to extort money out of his own wife. That would make no sense. These more boring answers are hinted at, But we're all too busy letting our imaginations run wild to notice. There's no big conspiracy here. There never is. Shauna and the others are just being paranoid and jumping to extremes. In reality, the world is a lot simpler, and nobody's really out to get them. There's a good article on Vox that gets into this idea some more. If these mysteries had splashier answers, they would feel inauthentic. What, are you telling me Adam somehow intentionally caused Shauna to rear-end him so they would get to know each other just so he could find some dirt on her and make money out of it? That's not how things work. This part of the show is giving us answers, but it's also priming us to accept that there's no big answer coming to explain everything. Like Shauna said, it's all just them. It, the supernatural, it's all a big red herring. The actual mystery, the thing that needs solving to make the story feel satisfying, is what's inside the girls. As we follow them season after season, it's easy to think that we know them. But there's still so much we don't understand about their internal lives, their response to all this trauma, and their reasoning for doing all the horrible things they do. The real story isn't a supernatural, plot-based one, it's internal and character-based. Yellowjackets will answer some of its mysteries. We will eventually see the girls get rescued. And any smaller questions that pop up along the way will get basic answers. But the big stuff, why all this is happening, we won't be told that, because we already know. Supernatural influence or not, everything that happens came because of the girls and the darkness inside of them. That came out when they landed in this high-pressure survival situation. To a lot of fans, that might feel like a cop-out, a cheat. But we need to listen to what the show is telling us. Stories teach you how to read them, and Yellowjackets has been trying to warn us over and over that there isn't anything behind it all. The real monster was inside of these girls all along. Once they, and we, understand the true depths of horror inside them, that's when the show can end, and both characters and audience can find peace.
It never meant what you thought it meant.